All right, and so we'll get started. All right, let's, there we go. All right. Okay. So today we are talking about, like I said, our master's in educational psychology and methodology. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. So my name is Alyssa Yesko. I am the director of the Pathways into Education Center. Our office advises students on, prospective students on programs that they're interested in. We work with current students who are pursuing teacher certification programs. We work a lot with our undergraduate students. So we're sort of like a one-stop shop for the School of Education, a great place to start if you have questions. I will also mention that I do have this very degree. I have the master's in educational psychology and methodology. I was in the school psychology program for a few years here at UAlbany and earned that master's degree along the way. I then went on to get my master's in another area in the School of Education and then my PhD. So if you have any questions about what it's like from a student's perspective, I'm happy to answer them. And we also have Dr. Wang from the department. I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself as well, who can answer any department or program related questions.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'm Tianling Wang. I'm a professor at the Department of Educational and Counseling Psychology, and specifically in the area of educational psychology. So Alyssa was just mentioning that for our master's program, we're also in the same building. The picture you're looking at, my office is on the second floor. I'm currently serving as the chair of the master's submission committee. So if you have any questions about admissions processes, or just any questions in general about the program, I'm also happy here to answer that for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so when we're looking at this degree, we're talking about educational psychology and methodology. So educational psychology being the study of how people learn, and the methodology piece is the measurement, evaluation, research to design, and statistics around learning about how people learn. So students in this program gain expertise on theories of learning, information retention, individual differences in learning, teaching methods, and instructional processes in different settings and across the lifespan. Our focus on methodology in this program allows students to gain a deeper understanding of these concepts and gain the skills needed to evaluate and make improvements in the field. The degree supports numerous disciplines within the field of education. So you can study the way people learn in a variety of settings. You can study the way that that young students learn at the elementary level, high school students, students in math classes, students in special education. So it spans across all areas of education. So it can lead to many different career options. Here's a little bit of an overview of the program. It is a 30 credit master's degree. Courses are offered both in person and online, so there's a variety. And the degree requirements as far as coursework include coursework in human development, learning, individual differences in special education, research methods, measurement and evaluation, statistics, and then electives, as well as an educational research project. The coursework itself is pretty flexible with options to choose courses that fit your interests and your goals. So who is this master's program for? A few different groups of people, right? So those who are seeking professional teaching certification in New York State, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. Professionals looking to gain expertise in data analysis and learning processes, and those interested in PhD study looking to strengthen their application to a PhD program. So if you are a person who is interested in using this master's program for professional teacher certification, it fulfills the educational requirements that allow students with initial teaching certification in a generalist area to pursue professional certification. So New York State Education Department defines a generalist area as one of the following. So early childhood, a generalist in middle childhood, students with disabilities, and generalists at the at different grade levels for students with disabilities. So if you hold certification in one of those areas, you can use this degree to progress your initial certificate to the professional level. According to New York State Education Department, you need a master's degree to obtain professional certification, and the master's degree may be in the content area of the initial certificate. So you can get a master's degree in childhood education if you're certified in childhood, or it can be in a closely related subject area. New York State views educational psychology and methodology as a closely related subject area to the generalist certificates that I mentioned. Since it's considered a related field, there's just a slightly different application process when you apply for your professional certificate, but our office is here to help with that process if this is what you're interested in. Now, if you're looking for this master's degree and you don't hold teacher certification and you're just looking at this master's degree to gain expertise in data analysis and learning processes, the first thing I want to mention is that if you don't hold initial teaching certification, this program does not lead to any teaching certifications in New York State. So if you don't have a background and a certification in New York State, this doesn't grant you a certification. But there are people who pursue this degree for additional career options outside of teaching. So those include educational researcher, data analyst, an educational assessment coordinator, so someone who oversees the assessments of an educational organization, whether that be higher education or a private organization, positions in program development or program assessment, working in higher education administration, working for state and government agencies, professional organizations, community programs, nonprofit organizations, working in adult education, or distance learning companies. So there's lots of different varied career options that you can pursue with this degree. But then this also can be helpful for someone who's interested in PhD study but looking to strengthen their application. It can be really helpful to pursue a master's before pursuing a PhD. It gets you experience with coursework at the graduate level and can often expose you to research experience, which is sometimes important for a PhD application. So students in this category, we encourage students in this category to pursue research opportunities during their time in the master's program whenever possible. And to use courses that focus on and clarify your research interests. The department offers a data analysis track for the master's in educational psychology and methodology, which involves a specific selection of coursework of 12 credits that allows students to increase their emphasis on research methods and data analysis. Pursuing this master's as you prepare for a PhD program allows you to showcase your academic potential. So if you do really well in your graduate coursework, that certainly bodes well for an application. And it allows you to get to know faculty in the program. Maybe you can get someone to write a letter of recommendation, but you might also be able to kind of find someone who is a mentor who has similar research interests as you. I do want to mention, in case there is a UAlbany undergraduate student here who is interested in this program, we do offer a combined bachelor's master's program with our human development major. Students are able to apply to the master's program in their junior year to start incorporating courses into their senior year, and depending on whether they're able to take summer courses, can complete a bachelor's master's in 4.5 years, but most commonly in about 5 years. So some information for our applicants. Application requirements include transcripts from all schools attended, 3 letters of recommendation, a statement of background and goals. If you're applying for the purpose of teacher certification, your teaching certificate if applicable. And then something to keep in mind is that the deadline for summer, fall, and spring is a rolling application deadline. Our recommendation to students who are applying on a rolling application deadline is to, at minimum, get your application in about 6 weeks before the start of the semester that you want to apply for. The reason being, it takes time for the admissions committee to review your application, but then also for you to register here as a student, submit your deposits, set up all of your online accounts, and then also register, get permission numbers for all of the classes that you want to enter before those classes fill up. So obviously the earlier the better. But 6 weeks is usually a really comfortable time to still get all of that done. That doesn't mean that the admissions committee wouldn't review your application if it's closer than 6 weeks to the semester. That's just our recommendation. So for transcripts, if you've previously attended UAlbany, you don't need to request a UAlbany transcript that automatically gets sent to graduate admissions. When we're looking at a GPA and looking at your academic record, we are considering that from all of the institutions and levels where you have taken college level courses. You can upload an unofficial transcript to your online application from other institutions. We would just need the official transcript sent directly from the institution upon admission. Transcripts can be mailed to the graduate school or emailed from the institution. Your letters of recommendation are submitted directly through the online application portal. So essentially, when you're in the application portal, you'll provide contact information for your recommenders, and an email will be sent to them from the system with a link and instructions on how to submit their letter on your behalf. We recommend that your letters of recommendation be specific to the program you're applying to whenever possible. So make sure you let your recommenders know what program you're applying to. It can be helpful to ask a former professor so that they can speak to your potential to be successful in graduate studies. Other options include professional references or those who have supervised you, who can speak to your work ethic, your ability to manage multiple projects, work independently, etc. Just a sort of a personal recommendation to give your recommenders plenty of notice, as well as a hard deadline ahead of the application due date or the date by which you want to have your application submitted. So let's say you have a goal of submitting your application by December 15th. It would be a great time to reach out to your recommenders now and maybe ask that they have their application submitted by December 1st or December 5th. That way, your application isn't waiting on those letters of recommendation from others. And a hard deadline is always helpful for someone who's writing you a letter of recommendation. Your statement of goals or any written components of your application are used for us to determine your fit with our program. We want to see what you can offer the program, and also for us, it gives us a chance to evaluate your writing skills. For you, this is your chance to talk about yourself, to highlight the things in your background, your field of interest, your research interests, your career goals and skills, and what you hope to get out of the program. Your statement of goals should be purposeful and to the point, about 1 to 2 pages. And it's always important to do your research on the program that you're applying to. So, why this program? Why is this program a good fit for you specifically? There's lots of great helpful resources to help you write a statement of goals. Some frequently asked questions about the program. How long does this program typically take? It can take 3 semesters of full-time study, but longer if completed part-time. And it depends on how many courses you take each semester, right? So if you're working full-time, there's a good chance you're going to be taking fewer courses. Are you planning to take summer courses? That can speed up the time to completion. What do you have going on outside of your life? Life circumstances that would allow you to take multiple courses in a given semester. And then, of course, if you're able to transfer in credits, that places you potentially ahead of the start line as far as completing the program. So just something to keep in mind, that there is a statute of limitations for all master's level students at UAlbany. You have 6 years from the time that you enroll in a program to finish it. Can my previous graduate coursework count toward the program? Yes. Previous applicable graduate coursework can count toward, I think at one point this was the PhD and master's program combined, but can count toward this program. You would work with your advisor after you enroll to apply for advanced standing or to transfer credits in. You can bring in up to 6 credits to this program, and things that your advisor would consider are the content of the course. Is it related to the degree, the length of time since the course was taken, and of course your performance in the program. So what grade did you get in the course? In what ways can I fund my graduate studies? So our master's students typically do not receive funding through our department. Our funding is typically reserved for our doctoral level students. There are assistantships available through the graduate school, so you could independently apply for a graduate assistantship outside of the department through the graduate school. There are university-wide scholarships, and then there are also scholarships that are specific to students within the School of Education. But for questions about funding your graduate study, we typically recommend that you reach out to financial aid. They're the real experts. They can answer questions about tuition, fees, aid, and payment plans. Where to find more information. So our website, so the program page, the master's program page is a great place to find information on the program itself, as well as the components of the program of study, and then career options like the ones that I mentioned, and then also the application materials and deadlines. So this is a great place to visit. Also, let's see. There's a department contact. It's edpsych@albany.edu. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the session, the PI Center is a really great place to start. We pride ourselves on being able to answer emails very quickly, and we can also, meet with you over Zoom. We take phone calls throughout the day. So a really great place to reach out if you have additional questions. So these were the topics that were submitted when students registered. So I'll go through these and then we can open it up to any questions that any of our attendees might have. So I think I already answered the question about funding. There is no, the students in this program are not typically fully funded by the department, but they can apply for an assistantship through the graduate school, and they can also reach out to financial aid for additional information on funding. Then are there application fee waivers? Someone had specifically asked, because I'm attending this session, are there application fee waivers? We aren't offering any application fee waivers at this time, but I'm going to enter the chat the graduate admissions email address. They're the ones who oversee and handle any application fee waivers. And then this question I was not really sure about. So Dr. Wong, I'm not sure if you know either. Someone said, do I need a WES application before or after submitting my application? I wasn't sure what that was.
This is the degree equivalence assessment
Okay.
provided by international school evaluation systems.
Okay.
It is necessary. Usually they take a fee for international applicants. Say if you're applying from India and the school is not accredited in the same way that US schools are, having a WES certified application helps the admissions committee to really evaluate your application. However, we do not require it, recognizing that people's circumstances definitely differ, and some people just don't have access or the means to get certified using WES services.
Thank you. And then maybe you can speak to this, but I know the graduate school also answers questions on this, but would a student need a language test, so an English language proficiency exam, even though I am from an English speaking country?
No, you do not. I do see someone from Nigeria. Welcome. Nigeria is a good example. We recognize that the official language used in their higher ed system is English. So for applicants from Nigeria, we do not require such tests.
Thank you. And then we had a couple of questions about career opportunities, the most common positions held by graduates of this program, the percentage of students employed, or even the average salaries if we have that information.
Oh, this is for me.
Yeah.
So we compiled a list from our alums from this program, also our current students. People hold a wide variety of jobs, as you may imagine. Some of them work for government agencies, for example, the Department of Education, Department of Health. They work in positions such as data analysts or policy analysts. You certainly will have the ability to function in a data analytical type of position, which, as you can imagine, would allow people to work in all sorts of organizations, government agencies. So that's definitely one big branch we see. We also see for a lot of individuals, they come into the program already knowing very clearly what they would like to do. For example, we have not a small percentage of students who know exactly they want to work with first or second grade once they graduate, or they already have a daycare center they want to return to, and they will be working in a more administrative capacity, having obtained a master's degree. So some people also know what they would like to do in that regard. And then we also, of course, have people who are kind of figuring things out. Like Alyssa, you were talking about, PhD preparation, and that's certainly something that doing a master's degree, typically people take about a year and a half if they're full-time, a year and a half to 2 years to complete the degree, and that will give you time and opportunities to reflect and really get a sense of what you want to do, what you're good at. It's entirely possible that during that time, people are like, oh, I came in thinking that I want to do a PhD in this area, but now I don't. And that's actually a very worthy way to spend the time. Or some people feel like now I'm really determined. I have firsthand experiences with data collection, experimental design. I know how to write a paper. I know I'm ready to apply for a PhD career. So people also do that. So again, there's a wide variety of things. I think the best way to gauge what's most suitable for you is perhaps to look around, talk to people, friends and family, think about what you enjoy doing most, right? That interest-driven orientation, we know, tends to predict future life happiness. And then as you take courses, also get a better sense of what's really suitable for your own personal skill sets.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So those were all of the submitted questions. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And I know one of our attendees had to leave, so I dropped my email in the chat for anybody who wanted to access the recording. But anyone who's remaining here, do you have any questions for either of us about this program?
Hi, I actually have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I believe I actually emailed you earlier today. My name's Mia. Hi.
Hi.
I'm looking at both this program and the program in school psychology, and I'm seeing that there's like a lot of overlap with like like the CAS program as well as like the PsyD. And I was wondering, if we complete this master's degree, can we I guess apply for advanced certification with Albany? Is it the same educational psychology degree or like a different one?
So, the certificate of advanced study in school psychology goes far beyond the master's in educational psychology and methodology. So you earn the master's in educational psychology and methodology along the way to the CAS in school psychology, about halfway. So about a year and a half into that 3-year program. But educational psychology and methodology degree alone would not allow you to work as a school psychologist.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess my other question is like, would that say we want to go into school psychology and then we apply again to the CAS program, would we be able to transfer any of those like graduate credits towards that, or would we have to redo that?
So some of the courses from the Master in Educational Psychology and Methodology would count toward the CAS in school psychology, but probably not all of them. So I mentioned that you earn a master's degree in ed psych along the way to the CAS in school psych. However, that master's degree in ed psych looks very different from someone who is completing the program outside of the CAS in school psychology program, if that makes sense. Essentially, the master's degree that's earned through the school psychology program is really targeted and shaped toward the school psychology field. Whereas the educational psychology and methodology master's on its own isn't necessarily as honed in on school psychology when you're completing it outside of the school psychology program. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Thank you so much. That's been something I've been trying to figure out. So
Dr.
thank
Wong,
you.
do you have anything to add to that?
I agree. So, Amia, it may not surprise you that these degrees, they have their separate requirements in terms of their required coursework, right? So in EdPsych, we require, for example, 18 credits that people have to take across 6 different areas. And then there are 12 credits for electives. And then there's a cumulative kind of project at the very end. For school psych, they have a slightly different setup, such that if you are taking 30 credits from EdPsych, you're not going to be able to apply all of those credits over to school psych if you decide to transfer or reapply somewhere along the way. School psych, Alyssa was also mentioning that, you know, it takes much longer, partly because there's a lot of practicum hours. You have to actually be doing practices on the ground, supervised and then unsupervised. So that just takes a lot of time. It's a different type of training, I would say.
Definitely, and definitely much more highly specialized.
Yes.
That where we were talking about how the EdPsych, the Master's in Educational Psychology and Methodology, can be broad and can apply to a number of degree or career fields. School psychology is specific to just becoming a school psychologist and training specifically for that.
Okay, thank you so much. And I guess that leads me to my last question, sorry. But I'm also, as I mentioned, like interested in like the PsyD program because I am interested in research. So through this program, are there any kind of research opportunities like assistantship type things that could kind of lead us in that direction of doctoral study?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a really good question. For someone like you who sounds like you're already very proactive in thinking about how you can position yourself to be competitive when you apply for a PsyD position. That's good because coming into a master's program, you will know that you need to reach out to different research groups. So we have many professors in the division, and each one of us, for example, I have a lab, my colleagues, many of them have labs. So you would want to reach out and talk to people and see whose research really aligns with your interest and see who is recruiting research assistants. And for example, right now I have about 4 PhD students and I would say about 10 master's students in my lab. They're actively doing research. So you would want to reach out to professors and say, hey, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm a good student, please let me work with you. Usually people say yes, and that's how you gain research experience.
And all students complete a research project toward that as a culminating, like as the culminating course to their studies as well, correct?
Right. At the
So
very
you'll
end.
do independent research through, is it still 680?
It is, yes.
You'll do independent research through 680, where you're conducting research and really like learning about the process.
Great, thank you so much. That really does help in that I'm really looking at programs that kind of, you know, allow that like accessibility to that side.
Right.
Any other questions? Well, if not, like I said, the Pi Center email address is in the chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions or connect you with the person who can answer your questions. And you know, we just appreciate you spending some time with us to learn a little bit more. Hopefully this session was helpful, and perhaps we'll see some names come through as applicants, which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Again, please feel
That'd be
free to
exciting.
reach out with additional questions. And thank you, Dr. Wong, for all the information.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great evening.
Take care.
Thank you.